Thanks. So welcome back to the podcast. We got 30 minutes to crunch in a great conversation on a Friday afternoon with my friend Nadir. So let's get back to what you said during our troubleshooting incident. You said it's all about a mindset test.
It is. So my coach always calls this a mindset test. And especially if you want to grow, if you want to be stronger, if you want to have strengthen your mindset, you should be actually looking for adversity. And it's very challenging for us to go on like getting ourselves in trouble. So that's not what we're referring to. Right. But when problem arises, when problem or challenges present themselves, and we're like, what I mean is like just like bingo, I got you, I got a problem, ain't gonna let you beat me, you know. So
here's that moment I've been waiting like, for, right? Is that what you're saying?
This is the moment I've been waiting for.
Okay, I like that.
You know, so cool. No, that's cool. You know, I had one yesterday. You go through these things, little stuff every day, and I guess he refers to it as a level up. You know, it's like every time you get an opportunity like this, he doesn't call it even an obstacle, an opportunity like this, overcome it, and then you level up your mindset. So,
well, I'm feeling pretty leveled up right now. I'm not really sure what level I'm on, but I know that I was about to throw this computer on another level. It was about to go. No, I appreciate your patience.
Of course.
All right. Well, let's get back to your LinkedIn stats. So talk to me about your LinkedIn stats. How have you grown so much on LinkedIn and have so many recommendations? I mean, I knew you were cool. I knew you were cool. but after looking through your profile the past few days, I'm like, whoa, he's on that next level. So tell us some secrets and some things you've learned to get all those recommendations and such a huge network.
Yeah, so I guess long story short, I've been on LinkedIn for about good 12 years, right? So I've got some skin in the game, and those recommendations literally start from a decade ago. But frankly, like I'm very introverted. I hate to kind of like talk about this stuff, right? But since you asked me, you're putting me on the spot, so I have to. So I actually get that question from others as well. I teach it, so I tell people how to develop recommendations, receiving skill endorsements, and written recommendations from others. It's actually like 25% of the LinkedIn algorithm, because there are 4 different components to how LinkedIn scores you, gives you a score. In a nutshell, it starts by the content you have on your profile. It moves on to the connections you have and the rate that you grow your connections and your engagement with them. Moves on to the third being the engagement you have, the social engagement you have with your community, so the likes and comments and shares. And the fourth one is the skills endorsements and recommendations you receive. So each of them have 25 points that you can gather. Together gives you a score out of 100. So it's definitely a quarter of what I teach people when it comes to using their LinkedIn. And quite frankly, it's a process of reciprocation. So if I have 140 recommendations up there, I must have given a lot, you know. Some I've written.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so we always give. And it's the first step is if you want to receive a recommendation, you got to give it first, you know. Mm-hmm. So I've given, when I left engineering and working in tech, I moved to the recruitment industry. So my entire essence was about making recommendations and referrals. So
right.
I don't want to be braggy here and say I've given thousands, but that number could be in a few thousands, a decade later. And that's what I do. I'm a connector, So right. If you come to me early before we get disconnected, we talked about, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is helping people strengthen their mindset and overcoming their traumas. And if I can't help you, which a lot of times I can't help you, right. But I will find the right resource for you. So being resourceful is, I believe, one of the skills that I do have.
Well, that's a life skill. Would you say?
Sure.
Not just a professional skill. And before I let you talk too much more, I gotta commend you a little bit more. let me build more of a pedestal for you here. You you have a very unique background. I would consider unique as far as your family raising and how you grew up. And I definitely want to highlight that. But also, I don't know if you started this trend or who did it, but there's this life coach thing going around heavy right now. And half the time, these people are under the age of 20. Not exactly the life coach I'm looking for. But let's talk a little bit about your past and how you grew up, why you're qualified to know about engineering, how you're qualified to be a recruiter, and then how that ties into what you're doing as far as the all source person, I guess, kind of HR for everybody. It's kind of how I view you.
Sure. No, I understand because I'm just pivoting also from career coaching to life coaching officially, because because I guess what you're getting into is like, I've always kind of had these experiences. I've helped others. I've been through a lot of adversity, and I can genuinely say, I've been doing life coaching for a long time, but without a title, so I've been doing it without even you knowing that this is what I'm doing. So, and there has been a new trend also with the new life coaches. Interesting enough, in the community of coaching that I'm a part of, there's 23 of us in this WhatsApp group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the youngest, they're all
That's awesome.
more experienced. Yeah, like I'm 36 years old, but like I'm pretty much the youngest. Everyone's like married, children in their 40s and 50s, very successful. They've been doing this for a long time. And I feel like I'm the kid of the group, you know what I mean? So
That's
when it comes to
some youth, some blood, right?
it does. It's, I'm also, I may not be received sometimes the right way because what I say is like, I sound like a kid sometimes because I'm like, you're going to hear it through this conversation today. I sound like a kid because I'm like super excited. I'm just dedicated. I'm kind of like a do or die kind of personality. So
yeah, heard that.
I mean, they might be listening, so I won't put anyone. I won't point at anyone. But sometimes I feel like the energy I put in isn't really received. So that I'm transmitting something that isn't being received the right way.
Isn't that kind of part of growing older? I know that you and I relate on a lot of different levels. I think this may be another one. I know I'm always super excited about whatever it is I'm talking to somebody older about. If I'm talking to somebody older, and it's more than like a 15, 20-minute conversation, I'm stoked, excited about something. And I want to convince them they should be excited too. But that's part of getting older, is learning how to channel that energy in a different way. Because at that point, to me, I feel like mid-40s, or even right now, but especially mid-40s, you can tell who went around doing and talking and who went around doing and conquering. So,
sure.
Do you think some of that attributes to the older people not with the same energy, but maybe higher intellect?
Sure. Like I understand that. I think there's a mindset aspect of that as well. Cause this year during the pandemic, during 2020, a lot of professionals just got into life coaching because, they read a few articles that people have stress and they need someone to help them with that stress and anxiety. And that's what a life coach does. So statistically speaking, the number of job titles called life coach added to LinkedIn, added to these databases that we can track. It's like life coach was number one. You can Google it. It's like the most number of new jobs, quote unquote, created were in life coaching, and a lot of I guess you can just quickly be like, okay, well, that person has how did they become a life coach? It's kind of shocks you in the beginning, Mm-hmm. So I've had this specific conversation before, and one thing that I had to learn. So I used to be on the other side, and so, oh, you know what? You're 24 years old, dude. How can you help me? I was there, so I admit it. But I've graduated. I've come on the other side. I've met that middle line. I shaken that hand. I've been coached by people who are younger than me, very successfully. Every man or woman, doesn't matter, young or old, will have something to teach you, will have something to give 100%. You that you don't. So with that philosophy, it's part of what I want to teach, especially, again, it's among the things that that I've experienced myself now that I'm passing on the message. So uh, yeah, I don't mind if someone's younger than me, you know.
Yeah, in EOD school or even infantry, uh, I was oftentimes the older person of a lower rank. And when someone's teaching you something that's super, I consider very vital, especially with the EOD training, uh, good information is good information. Doesn't matter where it comes from. And at the same time, there's pride, right? We all have pride, and it's kind of a mental mind game. I'm not sure how you play it, but for me, I'm like, okay, I'm learning something from this young kid. I say kid, maybe 2 3 years younger than me, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, be sure to listen and learn how he's or she is talking to me in case I needed to do the same thing to somebody a couple years older than me. You know, it was more than just the information they were giving me. It was the skill set of how to talk to somebody older and be respectful at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I understand that, especially if you're focusing on some more ancient cultures or the other side of the earth. What if you're deployed in somewhere that completely different culture? You cannot be direct, you know, you have to use different vocabulary, different terminology. So I understand that. I understand that.
Well, good. Hopefully everyone else does too, because that's why I said it, for them to understand.
Yeah, it does. This may not be a Chinese proverb, so don't quote me on that. But I grew up in martial arts, and we had this kung fu teacher who used to say, you know, a sword or a knife will cut any skin, doesn't matter who swings it. You know, so that was something that's always stuck with me. It's like, you know, it doesn't matter who pulls the trigger. You know, if you're on the other side,
Yeah.
you'll get hit. You know, you can die. So that's why I don't really care, like, if the person is young or old, if they have the right information, if they have the right message. Sometimes the message isn't even verbalized. You look at someone on the side of the road, you know, and just from their body language, you're like, oh wow, like there's wisdom in that. Look at how they behaved, you know.
Yep.
I should not do that when I'm in that situation. So that's a learning opportunity right there.
And you hit on a key note. I definitely want to come back to maybe get you on here again to hit on this because I don't think we'll have time today. But communication and body language, how that's missing in today's Zoom meetings, and I think a natural part of us is not used to. It's a psychological uh, backtracking, so to say, psychological backtracking, because when you're used to being able to see somebody and see that verbal and physical communication, generally the conversation goes better. But when they're like this on the phone or can't see them on Zoom, I don't know about you, but like I start going crazy. Like, are they smiling at me or are they about to like punch the phone? Like, I don't know how to tell what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's easier actually on the phone because you don't see the person. Sometimes when you see the person, they're not smiling. They're like, it's like, come on, is he pissed off? You know? But even like, again, going back a decade when I got into recruiting and I was receiving sales training, there is this guy called Scott Love. Scott Love is like he's probably retired by now. I don't know. But Scott used to talk about body language on the phone, which is like me of 10 years ago. It's like, what are you talking about? Nobody can see me. He's like, no, they can feel you. You know, if you smile, they can see the smile. You know, if you walk up and you're moving around, that's why I'm standing up right now. You know, so it's still the beginning, but as soon as I go off, I can be just like, oh my god, you know. But I love like standing up and talking and standing on the phone, and it just helps. It also helps blood flow. You know, if you want to get like scientific, helps blood flow. You can move around. You can kind of like, just like, you're playing music in the beginning. I was just like rocking my head, tapping my foot. You know, some things you can't do sitting down, or it's just the other person can understand that you're in motion. You know, so I feel like there's magic in that.
Well, can you feel this magic right here? These fisticuffs?
I do. I see those punches coming. I'm about to duck.
You have a very unique way of interacting with people on LinkedIn, and some of the highlights from your videos on there. You've talked about some of your struggles, which I think is very Man, my words are really coming to me on Friday. It's very impressive. There's a better word I want to say, Nadir, but it's being able vulnerable to be that vulnerable about
Yeah.
all the things that you have in your life. What did it take for you to put that video out? I think you know which one I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And what was your hope for the reactions, if you had any? And what do you think was the best thing or some of the highlights that came from it?
Oh yeah, I mean there was tens of thousands of views, hundreds of likes, and hundreds of comments. And my hope was to save people's lives, stop them from taking their own life. Because just a few years ago, it's when I decided to leave this planet, so to speak. I was tired of myself. I couldn't handle myself, and I decided to take my own life. But it wasn't my day. It wasn't my day. I was saved. I had This is something I probably didn't tell you in our last conversation. I was saved by the person I hated the most.
Oh man, how's that for a
That
mind
makes
trip?
sense. How's that for a mind trip? Because the guy that I was with, you know, we're going back to New Year's Eve, 2012. So December 30th, 2012. I had been up already for like 3 days. This is partying in the Dominican Republic, on the beach, on the coast, just
Um,
having fun, having a time of your life. I was single at the time, so girls, alcohol,
beach.
parties, the beach, and then some of the best drugs you can get your hands on at a fraction of the price. you know, so
Yeah.
I landed there just about a month before, a couple of days before my birthday on November 30th. I landed there, so it was a month of partying, month of just getting drunk every day, having fun in the day, dancing all night, and sleeping wherever you found a place to lie down.
Or wherever we crashed.
So
Yeah.
wherever you crashed, we had me and this guy. He had an apartment, and we kind of like invited everybody over. So we partied. We went to other people's. You made friends really fast, really quick. Great weather, everything good. And then New Year's Eve comes. By that time, I'm kind of living there for a month. I've made friends, I've made connections, and talk about being resourceful, right? So,
Right.
Knowing the local drug dealers and everything. So, anyways, we
I
went
thought that's
through
where you're
like,
going with that, but I wasn't going to say anything. Okay.
yeah. So, yeah. So I spent the whole night, sniffing white powders, and that was it. To New Year's comes, and we're up all night. This is 6 in the morning. I start taking this walk back home. At this point, the guy I was with, I won't go into too much detail. We didn't like each other.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't like him. We didn't like each other. I'm not gonna say what he did, but he wasn't my guy anymore. I was walking ahead in the street, still being approached by people from the side streets, side alleys. I was like, no, I've had enough, man. I've had enough. I hate myself. I'm walking home. So 15-minute walk, and ain't nothing to sober you up after what happened the night before. We got to our apartment, and this is a very stormy day. So, I mean, Caribbean type rain. Every raindrop was as big as
Yeah.
it would make a puddle right away. But terrible weather. We got into the apartment, got into the entrance, big building, 4-story building. There was a security guard sitting there with his shotgun, just
Normal.
Dominican style, and just like that's how it is. And then we walked in, so that was it for me. I crossed that line. I felt like I was in a safe zone and nobody could see me. The guy was coming, my buddy at the time was coming behind me, maybe like, I don't know, 30 seconds behind me, a minute behind me. So long story short, I was just like, I'm getting full body buzz, man. Full body goosebumps telling you this right now. But I kind of like I don't know how to put it in words. I never can, but it just decided to get right into the water and just, I didn't want to be there anymore. And this is not getting to the apartment pool, this is not you go for a couple of laps. This is getting into the ocean. This is in Cabarete. So Cabarete, yeah, is one of the top 3 windsurfing beaches capitals of the world. So very rocky shores and extremely large waves. So it's not something you could be Laird Hamilton. I mean, you're not going to get there without a surfboard, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, so I just decided to go in there, and all I remember is one wave getting wiped out, getting slammed to the corals, and I don't remember much. But the guy apparently went and got that security guard, and they pulled me out. Again, making that long story short, couldn't walk for a couple of days. Still have scars on my left knee, left ankle.
Did you know that guy pulled you
Shoulders
out
still.
whenever you came out?
Well, yeah, like I learned after,
Okay.
what they, and it's like, out of everybody that I owe my life to, it has to be you. You know what
I just feel
mean?
like, if I was really that mad, I could see where looking back, it's kind of funny. Be like, no, just throw me back in. If that's the guy who saves me, just throw me back in. Can't,
Oh, I got love for him now. Like I can't,
Oh,
like
no, for sure.
I actually, like a month later, I left that apartment because he continued getting into that habit. Because when I woke up, that was like,
Mm.
I knew something's wrong with me, but he wouldn't stop, right? He crashed a car that we had, and he continued, and he got arrested for DUI. I had to bail him out. So it's like, this is after all this event. I'm like, it said, man, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
We had 2 months left on the apartment that I had paid for. I could have stayed for free, literally just eat and, I don't know, chill on the beach, sunbathe, but I left. But it's like sometimes some people come to your life that you resent, and that person could be the person who's going to save your life,
That's a really good way to think about it. And for you, definitely is true. And going back to what we said earlier, every person in your life can affect it and probably will affect it one way or another, especially those close to you. So it's important to figure out and assess those relationships, which is, I'm sure, something you do for your clients, right?
Yep. A lot of people go through the same scenarios now. I've had a lot of childhood trauma based on where I grew up, and I'd seen my death. I mean, sometimes, and now that I think about it, I've thought about this many times, and I may have said this to other people who have had this conversation with me. Like, it wasn't as scary, if that makes sense. It was like, oh, I'm not gonna die. I've been in worse situations than this. Let me just try it. Let me just. I fell off a two-story building, and it's only 3 stories. Let me just try it.
Yeah.
Because you might
That's what
see yourself in situations like that. And it might just be that one extra story, that extra height, or how you land. But you know what I mean. So your mind plays a trick on you, and it always just like. We're talking about Goggins the other day, so I always, share Goggins quotes. Is like your mind always has a technical advantage over you, no matter how hard you try. So it's like
that's so true.
Your mind will play tricks on you. You can't fool it. It'll fool you before you even realize there's a conversation happening there. So it was one of those things. I was like, you know what? I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning. I'm just gonna go into this very, very scary situation. And kind of like get in the middle of a line of fire. It's like,
Yeah.
you may have been there before. It's like, you know what? I was ricochet going everywhere. I'm not getting hit. It's just dust. It's just, that's all it is.
Well, the first
It's just
gunfight I was
stones
in
and
wasn't
stuff.
overseas, oddly enough, but that's a different story. But
It's just like,
when everything's going on around you, it's like whatever. It's kind of almost slow motion. For me, it was.
I bet, man, because you found yourself, you may find yourself comfortable in a similar situation. You're like, okay, let me just see what happens.
Yeah.
It's like you're playing a game of
dice.
Russian roulette. It's like,
What do you feel like you wanted to also conquer something? Like if you made it through that riptide, through those waves, do you think maybe also if you made it on the other end of that, that you'd find what you're looking for? That moment of despair. I'm really glad that guy was there to get somebody to help you. But when you reflect back on it, why were you trying to be okay with, because you've been in that situation before? How does that relate to you trying to conquer something new, or does it?
well, if I had made it out on my own feet, I would be back upstairs doing more coke. I would be charged up more because I would feel invincible, you know?
Oh, that's definitely not. That's scary. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm glad that I had wiped out, and obviously I'm glad that they pulled me out. I could have died. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. But if I had survived on my own feet, if I had gone there and be like, you know what, I just went into this like 15-foot wave, 12 to 15-foot wave, because I was looking at it
Oh,
like this. It's like it's not something. It's like jumping off a building. You know what I mean? Because it's like having a building fall on you. Like no matter, you have to be coked out to do something like that, you know?
right.
And I don't know if you have experience with that drug. Please don't. I mean, but it just makes you feel invincible. That's what it is, you know? And that's why it's the worst drug out there. It's not like smoking meth. I haven't done meth, but being around people who like smoke meth, where it's just it doesn't soften you up. You would do anything. It just gives you strength. You turn into Hulk, you know, but you're not Hulk. You feel like you think like you're Hulk. So that's why it's terrible as a drug. If you're smoking weed, if you're drinking alcohol, it doesn't even chemically doesn't do the same thing as cocaine does to you. But that was the problem. If I had made it out on my own feet, it would have just amplified my negative state of mind even more. So I had to fail. So failure was success.
For sure. Wow. I didn't even come full circle on that until you said that. That's definitely true.
Mm.
Do you help? I guess. Do you see with some of your clients yourself in them, especially the young ones that are doing really well, who may be tempted to go out and party and do all the crazy stuff? Because I mean, 1 minute you're in college, broke. Next minute you're making 150K a year. Especially if you're single, I can see where that would go really bad, really fast.
Yeah, I do because I had graduated up to partying on a beach too, you know, in Dominican Republic.
You're a VIP. You're basically a VIP on that.
I was. We literally paid 6 months up front for rent. We rented a car for seconds. Everything was paid. It was like all inclusive on your own. You had everything. I'd made connections. Facebook was kind of like huge at the time. So we used Facebook for everything to find friends, find parties. And like we were the Canadian boys down there, you know? So
everyone loved you.
The small town, everybody gets to know you when you're looking good, you're balling, you're buying everyone drinks. It's like dollar drinks. Are you kidding me? You know, so
I'll buy the whole country.
Everybody is just like, everybody at the bar is just like, it's constant eating and drinking and partying. So people get to know you very quickly, even like everybody, right? So but it didn't really it wasn't always like that. Prior to that, it was just, it was challenges and struggles that led to job after job after job after success. But, I had some relationship troubles that got me to the state of mind that I was in. So today, when I deal with someone, they don't have to be addicted to any hard drugs. It could be just starts with the cigarette, starts from smoking the joint, and
right.
It could be doing no drugs or anything at all. It could just be bad relationship, You neglect someone who matters to you, or you just neglect yourself. You neglect the voice of conscience that tells you not to do something, and you keep doing it again and again. So not listening to our conscience is a gateway drug, if anything.
Well, you just blew my mind on a Friday. Hold on. let me think about this. Okay. Man, that's a great conversation. We only have a few minutes left here. I need more of this.
We have time, man. We have time.
We have time? Okay.
I have a call coming up in half an hour, but we have time.
Okay. Well, I sure do appreciate that. Let's break this down a little bit more, because that was a really good way to put that. Avoiding or not listening to your conscience is a gateway drug. So playing the other side of that coin, I could see some people saying, well, what if someone's conscience isn't telling them the right thing to do? That gets to the Jordan Peterson mind frame of, are we born naturally to do good? Do we know what's good, subconsciously? Or what's your thoughts on how
you do? I don't believe in that, Yeah, it's like conscious congruence, right? Your mind tells you what to do. You know what's right or not.
Hmm.
You know, if you're just ignoring it, that's just due to self-inflicted ignorance. But
There's
if
no
you're
excuses.
consciously, there are no excuses. You know,
I
conscious
like that.
congruence is one side of the coin.
Right.
If you don't listen, if you're not congruent with your unconscious, and some you might call it conscious, you might call it your gut feeling, you might call it the voice in your head. Some may go as far as calling it God, whatever. It might be your religion, doesn't matter. It could be a guru. You know what to do, what you're supposed to do to feel better, to do better.
Hmm.
If you don't, there will be a gap to fill. So that is where you feel you believe, you know, if we're not listening to our conscience, then there's a gap. And like, what's better to fill that gap with than,
Junk
and
food.
it has to be external, because the internal was a conscious congruence. You have to fill it with something external, you know?
Hmm. Yep. And so that's where bad habits would come into play easily, or
Bad
bad
habits,
relationships. Um,
bad relationships, hurting
and it,
yourself.
yep. And it's almost like a constant game in life. It has been for me anyway. You know, creating that balance, finding it. I'm like, oh, this is where the sweet spot is, and then before I know it, I'm like, oh wait, I gotta catch back up to where I want to be. Uh, so how have you come from, excuse me, your experience when you're 28, yeah, to now? So how's the past 8 years developed for you personally? And when you look back on that event, is it something that comes up again? Obviously not on the same scale, but um, how do you reflect on it, and how do you continue avoiding that situation?
Well, I've got a decent handle on it. I mean, the final chapter of this book was written on October 6th, 2018. What happened on October 5th, 2018? You know, it was the UFC fight between Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not have a memory of that night. I just know the fight occurred. Uh, so I had graduated I left all the drugs behind. So going back to 2013, you know, so hard drugs, smoking, all aside. I never picked up smoking cigarettes because I used to smoke cigarettes for a long time too. But that's one thing that I didn't do. So I've been clean off
Good on
cigarettes
you
for
for
a
that one.
long time. But man, alcohol took its place. Alcohol took place of everything, and it's socially acceptable. You can get it anywhere. It doesn't stink. It's, you know, my wife was cool with it. You
I
know,
said the wife is
go
cool.
figure, right? A doctor is good with you drinking, but she's not good with you smoking.
Right.
So continue drinking all the way to October 6, 2018. I'd graduated up to, I would just, you know, successful at this point, but every weekend I would buy myself you know, a nice bottle of single malt Macallan whiskey. So between like $80 to $100 bottle, and drink it to my face,
Okay.
you
Fair
know,
enough.
and have
Fair
a
enough.
smile like this on my face too, you know, at the end of the night. So normally I would, you know, normally I would have someone with me, you know, so we can share a bottle, and like,
Have some
you know, I
fun.
would drink
Create
like,
memories.
sure, but I would drink like, you know, 3/4 of the bottle, you know,
Oh, okay.
give them a quarter or something like that. They would bring their own beers because like most, you know,
Right.
they're like beers. I'm like, oh no, I need my whiskey, man.
Yeah, this
But
expensive
this night,
single malt. It's not just whiskey.
you know,
Right.
it's a nice bottle, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I'll share with you, but make sure you guys bring some of your drinks. You know, that was my trick. And this night there wasn't, you know. So I was on my own, finished the bottle, and, you know, woke up at like 5 a.m. No memory. Got into, you know, my wife didn't talk to me that day, so it was just like I
You knew
felt
you were in
low,
trouble.
and that's the lowest I felt. Kind of like took me back to 2012, 2013.
Wow.
And I just, you know, cold turkey. I'm like, that's it. This is the last day I drink.
Oh yeah.
And
I said that cold turkey.
Because if I don't do that, it could be what can happen next. Do I go to the grocery store right now to grab something? I get pulled over, my blood alcohol levels up, I go to jail. Do I got to do that? Am I waiting for that? Or do I
Oh
just,
wow.
decide,
I see. I see what
so
you're saying. That which moment in time? First off, your wife being upset with you and not talking to you, that's your sign. Um, so
I know, but that
I
doesn't matter,
respect you.
right?
Not really. Is she still listening? Okay.
I mean, she's not gonna kill us. She'll be cool.
She'll be cool.
Everybody here is gonna be like, oh, that's no problem.
Hey, whatever you say. But myself, and I didn't wait until uh, the signs earlier. And I got a DUI, and that was probably, I'm not gonna say probably, definitely the most embarrassing moment of my life, but also, uh, a failure that became a success. Um, and maybe that's another reason why we connect, is because I've worked really hard, several stints in my life, to not really reap what I sowed, because I either messed up or changed careers, or 2020 happens. I'm kidding. It's been a great year, but we have these stints that we've run in our life, and then for me, uh, not necessarily losing it all, but watching it fall apart. It's even more of a psychological challenge to overcome, which leads to generally more drinking, etc. And so, what would you say to someone like me, uh, after getting, maybe somebody right now, obviously in 2020, there's a lot of young men and women who are either jobless or in fear of their job. Maybe they're killing it right now. Some people are killing it, so they're celebrating a whole lot. But what's a general consensus of some advice you give for our generation during 2020, to deal with the stress and the, just turn on the news, whatever's on the news, whatever that is that we're dealing with.
Find your purpose and a deep sense of meaning in life. So you had my website up. You don't need to bring it up now, but we had it up before, and that's basically our like sub tagline. The kind of like main line is, creating an abundant life. But the question I ask is like, are you struggling with finding your purpose and a deep sense of meaning in life? So there it is. Are you struggling with that? So if you've read the book A Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl, he also talks about, just like the title says, a man's search for meaning. So if you can be a slave for years, the one thing you need to keep sane, stay alive, and not lose the sense of just being there, to avoid killing yourself, is to find hope in the future. So future hope, purpose of something you want to achieve in the future, something that you must do. So you got to attach yourself with that future purpose, and you got to create some meaning, a deep sense of meaning. And that's ultimately what I focus on in that community, is to help you develop that, identify that, come into a group of like-minded individuals, others who have had and who are having the same struggles as you are. Someone like me who's willing to sit there and just listen to you, hear you, don't judge you, because I've done it all. I talk to a lot of people, and most of the times I'm like, yeah, I've done worse than you. Chances are I've done worse than you, and I'm willing to listen to you and not judge you, because I've been there. I understand how it feels. I understand why you're doing it. But at the same time, I can help you identify what is really specific about you, what is really unique about you, what are your gifts, and help you translate what your conscience is telling you. Because that's how you're going to be able to positively influence your own lives. It's self-influence. I love these few areas that you're showing on the website. And if someone's listening in, this page, a lot of a lot of time and effort has gone through this page to really tell a story that people can connect with. This is kind of like my story because I've gone through it, but I've learned that it's everybody's story because everybody who goes through this are like, yep, I'm exactly the same. How did you know? I'm like, well, this is a result of like months of group of writers, group of intellectual coaches coming together and evaluate and understand how we can create a healthy career and a happy life by further developing and strengthening your mental, social, and spiritual well-being. So if we can bring these different dimensions of well-being together, and if you're open to healing, if you're open to finding that new purpose, that's all you got to do. You just got to walk through that door that, hey, I want to be here. I want to find out what's wrong with me. I want to heal it there. I know there's something wrong. I want to be better. I know I can be better. How can you help me? If you have that little bit of drive, you can sit right beside me for us to go on this ride together.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's I guess a little bit of a theme here for my 2020 episodes, and that's leadership. And can be different kinds of leaders. There's spiritual leaders. There's leaders in business, leaders on the pickup basketball team down at the Y, whatever it is. There's always, people in charge. And I commend you. And I definitely highly recommend anybody who's searching for purpose, or especially right now with sense of belonging, having some kind of group or community that you're putting together here. I highly recommend people check this out, especially people who are in their 20s and 30s, because what worked for our parents in the past as far as communication obviously is not going to work all the time in the future for us. And what I really like about what you're doing is you're taking a physical aspect. I say physical. When you show compassion, you give somebody a hug, high five, tap on the butt. Depends on if you're on the football team or not. But we all have some kind of, affirmation on a physical level of helping somebody out. And this is, to me, I see it virtually. A virtual high five, keep it up community with the aim of what you just said. Write that down. Mental, social, and spiritual wellness. Because there's one more pillar, financial wellness, but I got that one covered. But the three pillars here that you have, Nadir, these are awesome, and I believe everyone needs them more than ever. And I can't wait to see where this goes for you. And I wish you the best of luck on your new website, your new venture.
I appreciate that. There are altogether 8 different dimensions of wellness, so we covered half of them today.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm over here talking crap, and I didn't even know that. I didn't know. Okay, well, I guess I need to sign up for the course.
Well, financial is one of them.
Oh, really?
It definitely is. There's financial. Well, let me see if I can get all 8 right.
Here we go.
There's put me on the spot. There's this financial, spiritual, social, mental, intellectual, environmental. There's one has to do with health. I think it's like nutritional, and the last is occupational. Yeah.
I'd say those are pretty solid foundations. And what's funny about that is you can't be perfect at any of them. Seems like you're going to need to be working on one of them. Hopefully working on at least one of them all the time.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's you're never going to become an expert at either of them. You become so good that you become enlightened, and you say, you know what, Bobby's great at offering financial advice and help people become financially free. And he develops this solution, this service, this product, this career. Right. And the goal and the purpose and the meaning in life comes to Bobby because he helps people overcome their financial problems. For me, it was just about occupational wellness. For a decade, I help people. I can help you get a better job, And I realized while I was doing that, because of my unique background, I was helping people become more spiritual. I was helping people become more social, building communities, building teams, getting out there and supporting your community, it just realize that, oh my God, stuff has helped me. Let me help you do the same thing for you. And the last but not least, the mental and emotional side of things, just realize that I'm already doing that. So why don't I just take these other three aspects, three dimensions of well-being, and put a solution around it, create a community so we can all come together and learn these techniques and best practices to become more spiritual, connect with our soul, to become more mentally strong, and to become more socially connected, because we need that sense of belonging. And you said something about the physical hug. Mm-hmm. We don't need to be physically there together to affect each other physically. You've given me goosebumps 2-3 times today, man. If I talk to you, I would guarantee I will give you goosebumps. If I talk to you like on a phone call, we're private, I'm a great judge of character. I'm a great listener. So I'll listen to you and then I'll shower you with some wisdom, and you're going to feel that energy. So those goosebumps is energy that's going through these, this universe, this realm that we're in. So we're bending time and space together. You know what I mean? So
I'll have to ask
you don't necessarily need to be there.
But that's a pun. No, it's really interesting how the soul aspect plays into the fundamentals of everything that I do now. Getting more in touch with my relationship with Jesus and God kind of opened up my eyes to everything going on around me right now. I'm like, wow, this is really terrible around me. I'm gonna make the most of it. That's all I can do. And it's great to connect with people like you who are also spiritual and not afraid to start things new and create something from the bottom up with a great intent.
Yeah. The first thing that scares people away is like when religions and God come into the conversation. So I've taken both out of them, and I say, hey, you're a spirit. Spiritual means just being better connected with you. So meditation is the best way. You don't have to pray, because as soon as you say pray, it's like, oh my God, I'm not religious. I'm like, even meditate is a word that scares people. But, I go through a guided meditation. It could be from whoever you want. I mean, as long as you don't make it religious or God related. So you're not outside of your comfort zone. You are God, you can be a good leader. You can be the person who takes care of everybody. Just like Jocko says, take extreme ownership of everything. If something happens, it's my fault. Something happened. We have a crash on the other side of the street right now. Oh yeah, that was my fault too. Because that's what Jocko would say, right?
That's what he would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take full ownership like that, full responsibility, then you are God. And then
that doesn't really.
I used to like
down here in the South, but I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean, right? Again, I grew up in we talked about my childhood. I grew up in a war zone, so.
Yeah.
I connect with what Jocko says, and I listen to everything he says. I've read his book and like multiple times for many years, and then you got Goggins of the world, and so like a few extremes. I connect with the extremes, right?
Yeah.
So I don't mind saying
you've been to the extreme.
I've been to the extreme. You've been to the extreme, so I'm comfortable being in the extreme, and I found a way to pull the power and just own that power. So if I say, you know what, I am responsible for everything. I decide my own fate. I mean, if you're listening to this, you're like, no, my fate is written for me. You've got some learning to do.
Yeah.
Our fate is created based on everything we do every day. If I jump out the window right now, that's fate there.
Is that fate, or is that the decision? I think that was
that's a decision, man.
That's a decision. And your fate is sealed.
Oh yeah, no, that's a decision. So it's just that's one of the things I always talk about. So everybody understands that they're fully responsible for the results that they get, and that's a two-step formula.
That's not going to be sorry, I didn't interrupt, but that's not going to be too popular amongst a lot of people. But the beautiful thing about what you're doing is, to me, it's not for everybody. For me, it's for the people who have their hand raised. like, yeah, I want to improve,
Sure.
because not everyone's going to
Sure.
be on the same boat at the same time of improvement. You and I have both been there.
Sure. You know, are you going to be jumping on that grenade or not? You know, I would.
Oh yeah, daily. I do it on the daily.
You know, I would, because I see value in saving the other four guys' lives. If I would give mine. You know,
Yeah.
but like it's not that I didn't even think about it. I'm willing to give my life away. I'm willing to save these four guys' lives away.
Right.
Sorry, I'm willing to save these four guys' lives. You know, so it's like the way you structure it in your head. Now I may be referring to a movie because again, I grew up in these environments watching these movies, you know, to get Rambo out of your head.
Yeah. No, we're talking about real life stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, real life stuff. But it's sometimes it's good to just kind of like have these frames, these like movie frames, these scenes, you know, it just helps, man. It just helps because you come across a scenario, you come across a situation, you're like, okay, well, do I save my own ass here? Or do I go and do something that's outside of my comfort zone that has a bigger purpose?
Right.
And that's why we're going back to this, you know, to go back to that conversation about purpose and a meaning beyond bigger than you. That's what it means. You know, you're not going to be comfortable being a leader. You know, leadership is supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's totally true. And that's why it's so amazing whenever you can sit down with someone who's been a leader for 20, 30, 40 years, because the wisdom in those men and women is insane. Talking, you know, personally, some of the colonels I've had, been able to talk to, people in my family, it's a treasure to have those opportunities to try to learn wisdom. And I'm gonna try to get it off here because I know you have to go in 10 minutes. And I was going to segue into it's a pleasure talking with you and you sharing all of your wisdom. And I want to be sure to highlight your website. The name is it's on there, engineeryourmission.com. And you have a free guidebook also on there, I saw just now. I think that's great for everybody to check out. If you go check it out, be sure to let me know what you think. And I'll get back to Nadir and let him know if he's invited back on the podcast or not. And no, I appreciate everything that you've done, and I'll let you have the final words for Friday.
Oh, just cherish every moment, you know, cherish every moment and be grateful. You know, we're all blessed if we're alive, and you know, if you're here, I mean, we're among the most blessed people in the world. You know, chances are you're among one of these 50 states, and you know, we ain't got a problem. You know, we don't have to deal with anything really that's nerve-wracking. So just be grateful and you know, take it one day at a time. And I would say take daily action towards making you better. If you make yourself better, if all of us just focus on making ourselves better, we'll have a better world.
That's just math. That's simple math.
That's simple. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you for listening very much. Nadir, thank you very much for being a podcast guest again. And I'll sign off of here. Please be sure to comment, like, follow, all that other cool stuff. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Thanks, Nadir.